I, 29F, met my fiance, Ethan, 31M, 3 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday party. I wasn't even planning to go that night. I was exhausted from work and kind of in a sworn-off dating phase after my last breakup. But my best friend practically dragged me out of the house, insisting I needed to live a little. When I walked into that party, I noticed Ethan immediately. Not in a he was the hottest guy there kind of way, but because he had this easy charm about him. He was standing by the kitchen counter, laughing with a group of people, and I swear it was like the sound carried across the whole apartment. Eventually, our mutual friend introduced us, and within minutes, we were deep in conversation. He asked about my job, my hobbies, even my family, stuff most guys don't usually care about when they first meet someone. And he listened, like, really listened. That's what drew me in. By the end of the night, he had my number. By the end of the week, we had our first date. And by the end of the month, we were basically inseparable. I honestly thought I'd hit the jackpot. Our first year together was amazing. He was attentive, thoughtful, even romantic. The kind of guy who'd surprise me with coffee in the morning just because he knew I had a stressful day coming up. Or who'd remember the smallest details from conversations we'd had weeks before. My friends adored him. My parents thought he was wonderful. Everyone kept saying, "Wow, you two are perfect together." And honestly, at the time, I believed it. But there was always this one shadow lurking in the background, her. Ethan told me about Maya pretty early on. He framed it as, "Just so you know, one of my closest friends is someone I used to date." I remember my stomach dropping a little when he said that. But before I could even react, he launched into this explanation about how they'd dated years ago, how it didn't work out romantically, but how they'd decided to stay friends. He swore there was nothing between them anymore. "She's basically like family," he said. "We talk sometimes, but that's it. I want to be upfront because I don't want you to ever feel blindsided." And at the time, that honesty meant something to me. I appreciated it. But here's the thing. Maya was always there. At first it was small things, like when we'd be out on a date and his phone would light up with her name. Sometimes he'd answer, sometimes he'd ignore it. But he always had this little smile when he saw it. Or how she seemed to know about things before I did. Once I mentioned a work promotion I got, and she congratulated me when we ran into her at a bar, before I'd even told most of my friends. When I asked Ethan about it, he brushed it off. "I was just proud of you, so I told her." I told myself it wasn't a big deal, but the moment that really stuck out was when I found out they still had inside jokes. Like whole conversations I couldn't follow, because they had years of shared history. I laughed along, but inside, I hated it. About 8 months into our relationship, I finally brought it up. We were lying in bed, and I asked him point blank, "Do you still have feelings for Maya?" He didn't even hesitate. He laughed. "No." "Babe, I love you. Why would you even ask that?" I told him how uncomfortable it made me sometimes, how close they seemed. He got serious then. "I get it, but please believe me. She's my past. You're my future. I'd never hurt you. I wanted to believe him. And honestly, part of me did. So, I dropped it." About a year into dating, Ethan suggested I actually meet Maya. "It'll make you feel better," he said. "She'll see how great you are, and you'll see there's nothing to worry about." I agreed nervously. We all went out for drinks one night, and she was nice. Like, really nice. Too nice. She complimented my outfit, asked me questions, even offered to buy the next round. But something about the way she looked at Ethan made my skin crawl. It wasn't overt, but it was there. That lingering softness in her eyes. The way her laugh seemed a little too flirty, and Ethan, he didn't seem to notice. Afterward, I told him how I felt. He rolled his eyes. "You're imagining things. She's just friendly." But deep down, I knew I wasn't imagining it. Fast forward to 2 years in. Things were mostly good, despite my lingering unease about Maya, and then Ethan proposed. It was everything I could have wanted. Romantic, thoughtful, private, but meaningful. I said yes without hesitation. But in the back of my mind, a tiny voice whispered, "What about her?" Still, I pushed it down. I wanted to believe in us. I wanted to believe love could be simple. When we started wedding planning, that voice got louder, because of course. Her name showed up on the guest list. I stared at it for a long time before finally asking, "Do we really have to invite Maya?" Ethan frowned. "Of course. She's a close friend. It would be weird not to." I swallowed my discomfort and nodded. I didn't want to be the jealous fiance. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be the understanding partner. But something inside me was screaming. In the months leading up to the wedding, I started having nightmares. Dreams where Maya showed up in a wedding dress. Dreams where Ethan left me at the altar. Dreams where I was standing in front of a room full of people, humiliated. I woke up in cold sweats, my heart racing. Ethan would hold me and tell me it was just stress, that everything would be fine. But those dreams felt like warnings, and I wish I had listened. Planning a wedding is supposed to be one of the happiest times in a couple's life, right? I thought so too, but the deeper we got into it, the more I realized how much stress and how many cracks it exposed in our relationship. Ethan was involved, don't get me wrong. He came to the cake tastings, flipped through venue brochures, and even gave opinions on floral arrangements. But every single discussion eventually circled back to her. Maya. I'd try to talk about whether we wanted a string quartet or a DJ, and somehow he'd say, "You know, Maya had this amazing playlist at her sister's wedding. Maybe we could borrow that idea." Or when we were choosing food, "Oh, Maya is vegetarian. We should definitely have more options for her." It wasn't always big things, but it was constant. Her name slipped into almost every conversation, like a shadow hanging over my shoulder. When I told my best friend Lily about it, she didn't even try to hide her disgust. "Babe, he's obsessed with her." "That's not normal," I defended him at first. "He's just trying to be inclusive. He doesn't mean anything by it," but Lily wasn't buying it. "No, he's making decisions about your wedding with his ex in mind. Tell me how that's okay?" I didn't have an answer. Even my mom noticed. One day she came with me to pick out dresses, and when I mentioned that Maya would be on the guest list, her face soured. "You're kidding me. She's an ex. Why would she even want to be there?" I shrugged it off, but inside I was unsettled. Why was I bending over backward to justify this? Then came the texts. One night, Ethan left his phone on the couch while he went to shower. Normally, I respect privacy. I'm not the type to snoop, but the screen lit up and her name flashed across it. I don't know what possessed me, but I picked it up. The messages weren't explicitly romantic, but they were intimate. Maya. "Remember when we used to sneak into the park at night? Still one of my favorite memories." Ethan. "Ha ha ha, yeah, those were good times." Maya. "Can't believe you're actually getting married. Feels weird, Ethan." "Yeah, I know. It's a big step." My stomach churned. When he came back, I confronted him. "Why is she talking about your past like that?" He froze for a second, then shrugged. "Babe, it's harmless. Just reminiscing. Everyone does that with old friends." I told him. It made me uncomfortable. He rolled his eyes. "You're making drama out of nothing. If I wanted to be with her, don't you think I would have done that instead of proposing to you?" It shut me up in the moment, but I didn't feel reassured. Fast forward a few weeks. My bridesmaids threw me a bachelorette weekend. Something low-key, just a rented cabin with wine, movies, and way too much junk food. Of course, Maya somehow found out about it, and she texted me. "Maya, hope you're having fun this weekend." Don't party too hard. I stared at the message in disbelief. Why was she even reaching out to me? We weren't friends. The few times I'd seen her, she'd been polite, but we'd never exchanged numbers. Ethan must have given it to her. Lily snatched my phone and rolled her eyes. "She's trying to mark her territory. Don't respond." So I didn't. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Maya wasn't just going to stay in the background. The real breaking point came at my bridal shower. It was supposed to be a day for me to celebrate with family and friends. But guess who showed up? Yep, Maya. At first, I thought maybe Ethan had invited her by mistake. But when I asked around, everyone looked just as shocked as I was. She hadn't been on the official guest list for the shower. She just showed up. And she came bearing a gift. When I opened it, I froze. It was a framed photo of Ethan and me. Cute enough, except it wasn't from my collection. It was clearly a candid photo someone else had taken. And Maya had written on the frame, Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness. Love, Maya. Everyone in the room exchanged awkward glances. My aunt leaned over and whispered, "That's weird, right?" I laughed it off, but inside, my blood boiled. Later, I confronted Ethan. "Did you tell Maya to come?" "No," he said, looking surprised. "She probably just wanted to support you." "It's nice, isn't it?" "Number. It wasn't nice. It was invasive." A month before the wedding, we were at a family dinner when Maya's name came up again. My cousin, who had mutual friends with her, casually mentioned, "Oh, I saw Maya shopping last week. She said she's getting a new dress for your wedding." I froze. "What kind of dress?" I asked. My cousin shrugged. "Didn't ask. Just that it was special." Something in my gut twisted. I asked Ethan about it later, and he dismissed it. "Babe, everyone buys something nice for weddings. You're paranoid." But the nightmares started again. Only this time, they were clearer. In them, I saw her walking toward Ethan, in a white dress. The night before the wedding, we had the rehearsal dinner. Family, friends, good food, laughter. It was supposed to calm my nerves. But halfway through, Maya arrived, and she wasn't even on the rehearsal guest list. I pulled Ethan aside. "Why is she here?" He looked annoyed. "Because she's important to me. She's part of my life, and I wanted her to be here." I nearly lost it. "Do you even hear yourself? Tomorrow is supposed to be about us, not her," he sighed. "You're overreacting. Please, can we not fight the night before our wedding?" I wanted to scream, but I bit my tongue because I didn't want to ruin everything. That night, I barely slept. Around 2 a.m., I got a message from an unknown number. When I opened it, my heart sank. It was Maya. She'd sent a photo of herself in a long, elegant white dress with the caption, "See you tomorrow." I stared at it in shock, my hands trembling. Was this some kind of sick joke? I wanted to wake Ethan up and demand answers, but I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the picture, my stomach churning. I should have called the whole thing off right then and there, but I didn't, because some foolish part of me still believed he'd choose me. I woke up on my wedding day with a knot in my stomach. You know how people say brides feel a mix of nerves and excitement? Well, I felt mostly dread. My bridesmaids were buzzing around, fixing their hair and sipping mimosas while I sat in the makeup chair trying to smile. But every time I looked in the mirror, all I could see was that photo Maya had sent me. Her in a white dress, smirking, like she knew something I didn't. My maid of honor, Lily, kept asking if I was okay. "It's just nerves," I lied. "I'm fine." But I wasn't fine. I was terrified. The venue was beautiful. A renovated barn with fairy lights strung across the beams, flowers everywhere, and soft music playing. Guests were already arriving, taking their seats, murmuring with excitement. I should have been floating on a cloud of happiness. But instead, my eyes scanned the crowd, searching for her. And then I saw her, Maya. She walked in like she owned the place, wearing a floor-length ivory gown that was unmistakably bridal. It wasn't some pale pastel. It wasn't cream. It was white. Gasps rippled through the guests as heads turned. I heard whispers. "Is she serious? She's wearing white to a wedding?" My mother nearly choked on her champagne. Lily muttered, "Unbelievable." And Ethan smiled at her. I tried to focus as I walked down the aisle, but all I could see was her, sitting in the front row like she belonged there. Her eyes never left Ethan. When we exchanged vows, I caught him glancing at her. My chest tightened. Was he distracted? When it came time to say "I do," I almost couldn't get the words out, but I forced myself to. I told myself this was just nerves, that once the ceremony was over, it would all feel right. It didn't. After the ceremony, we moved into the reception hall. Guests clapped, music played, food was served. Everyone was celebrating, everyone except me, because Maya was everywhere, laughing too loudly at Ethan's jokes, touching his arm when she passed by, whispering things in his ear that made him smirk. I tried to stay calm. I really did. But then, the DJ announced the first dance. This was supposed to be my moment. Our moment. Ethan took my hand, and we moved to the dance floor as everyone clapped. The music started, slow and sweet. I tried to look into his eyes, tried to block everything else out. But halfway through the song, Maya stood up, and in front of everyone, she called out, "Mind if I cut in?" After all, I knew him at first. The room fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. I froze. Surely she was joking. No one would actually... But Ethan hesitated. He actually looked at her, then back at me. And then he reached out his hand toward her. The crowd gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God!" My heart shattered. Right there on the dance floor, in front of everyone I loved, I realized he was choosing her. Something inside me snapped. I yanked my hand away and grabbed the microphone from the DJ. My voice shook, but it carried through the room. "Actually, this wedding is over." Gasps, murmurs. People looking at each other in shock. Ethan stammered, "What?" "Babe, no, it's not." I cut him off. "No, don't call me that. If you wanted her, you should have married her. I won't stand here and be humiliated while you let your ex play dress up at my wedding." The room erupted in whispers. Maya smirked, like she was proud of herself. I ripped off my veil, threw it on the floor, and walked out. Outside, my bridesmaids and family rushed after me. Some guests followed too, offering hugs and support. I was shaking so badly I could barely breathe. Behind me, I heard Ethan shouting my name. Then, faintly, laughter, Maya's laughter. I didn't look back. I got into Lily's car, and she drove me straight to her apartment. I spent the night in her spare room, still in my wedding dress, sobbing until I couldn't anymore. The next few days were hell. My phone blew up with messages. Some guests saying I was brave for walking out. Others gossiping about the crazy drama Ethan, begging me to talk it out. I ignored him. When I finally agreed to meet, he tried to spin it like I overreacted. It was just a moment. I wasn't going to actually dance with her. "You embarrassed us in front of everyone." I stared at him in disbelief. "No, Ethan." "She embarrassed us. And you let her..." He didn't even deny that he still had feelings for her. He just said, "It's complicated." Complicated. On my wedding day. A week later, one of Ethan's groomsmen reached out to me. He told me the truth. Ethan and Maya had never really cut ties. They'd been emotionally involved the entire time, maybe even physically. Maya had told Ethan she'd always be there, waiting in the wings. And apparently he liked having her around, just in case. The groomsman said, "Honestly, I think she wore that dress to test him, to see if he'd pick her." And he did. I felt sick. Ethan tried contacting me again, but I blocked him. I returned the ring by mailing it to his apartment. No note. Nothing. Just the ring in a box. I later found out he and Maya are officially dating now. She posted a photo of them together, captioned, "Sometimes the right person comes back to you." The comments were brutal. People called her out for what she did at the wedding. But she didn't care, and neither did he.